Philomene, a lover of ideas. The milk of human kindness, curdles with intemperance. The old phrase holds that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's a tidy aphorism, but it's too simple. It treats corruption as a singular event, as if a person trips over a crown and lands in villainy. But the truth is more nuanced and far more unsettling. The rot is often invisible. We prefer to believe in villains, in men born bad. It's a comfort to think that certain individuals are just flawed. But what if the flaw is a path, a slow, self-justifying descent, where the very things that once made a person human are slowly, inexorably ground away by ambition and power? Today, we're exploring that descent. The milk of human kindness doesn't curdle in an instant. It sours one small, rationalized act at a time. And we're going to watch it happen through the lenses of three powerful figures who walked that very path. The justification of Julius Caesar. Our first journey begins with a man who was once the very embodiment of the people's will, a politician and general who rose not from birthright, but from daring and charisma. Julius Caesar was a champion of the people and a cause in the hands of the intemperate can be a dangerous thing. The first compromises were easy to justify. Defying the Senate, a necessary sacrifice for the greater good of his army and the Republic. Marching on Rome, a painful but vital step to protect his legacy. He told himself he had no choice. It was a utilitarian calculus, with loyalty and humanity on the ledger. The milk of kindness was thinned, not soured. But the compromises became a pattern. His power became absolute. His inner circle, his echo chamber, affirmed his every decision, turning his self-righteousness into an absolute virtue. He felt nothing for the men who opposed him, because he had convinced himself they were no longer patriots, but simply obstacles to his vision. The very men who had been his peers were now subjects to be managed, not equals to be reasoned with. Caesar convinced himself that his hands, so stained with Roman blood, were simply doing the work of history. The milk of kindness was no longer thin. It was a solid, bitter cheese. It had curdled completely. A sacrifice to an ideal that had long since become only an extension of his own ego. And when he no longer saw his fellow men as worthy of empathy, they repaid the sentiment in kind. Seeing him not as a leader, but as a tyrannical obstacle to be removed, his intemperance in power led directly to the violent end of both his life and the republic he once claimed to serve. The isolation of Ivan the Terrible. Our next path is one of inherited power and paranoia. Here we find a man, Ivan the Terrible, the first Tsar of Russia. He ascended to the throne with a mandate to unify a fractious nation. He was a master of his craft, a brilliant strategist who saw the world not in terms of people, but of consolidating power. His first acts of cruelty were simple. An assassination here, a public hanging there. Just politics. But the battles became internal. His intemperate mind was consumed by paranoia. Each military success and political victory amplified his fear of betrayal. The screams and the suffering became just background noise. As irrelevant as the dust kicked up by his secret police, the Oprichnina, he felt a quiet, almost surgical detachment from the human cost. He famously murdered his own son in a fit of rage, an act of pure, unadulterated terror. His success became an isolating narcotic. He was no longer just a man. He was an engine of destiny. The countless people who followed him, the nations he shattered, he felt no empathy for their suffering. He was a force of nature. And who could blame a hurricane for the destruction in its path? The man who once ruled with might was now a slave to his own fear. His kindness had soured with the same cold, calculating efficiency he used to win battles. The humanity was gone, replaced by a monument to his own curdled paranoia. The dehumanization of Robert Moses. Our final path is not one of battlefields or revolutionary fervor, but of progress. It begins with a man of singular ambition, a genius who saw the world in terms of efficiency and public works. Robert Moses truly believed his work would make the world better. That progress was the only moral good. And in the beginning, he made a kind of progress. The compromises started small, cutting corners, bulldozing a block here, a neighborhood there, just urban renewal. After all, the cost of human dignity was a necessary expense on a ledger. His kindness was the first casualty of the bottom line. His echo chamber was his own self-belief, a cold, uncaring machine that rewarded his every ruthless decision. He famously refused to build ramps on his bridges for public buses, arguing that only car owners were worthy of his creations. The people who toiled for him were no longer human beings. They were labor units, numbers on a chart. He saw the suffering his projects caused, but it was just a byproduct, a bug in the system. The man was so removed from the human element, so insulated by his power, that he could no longer feel. He had monetized his empathy out of existence. His legacy was a monument to himself, a testament to his own curdled gain. He had become a king, in a kingdom of his own making, a gilded cage built of his own intemperance. The milk of his kindness had curdled, and the only taste it left was the bitter tang of pure, unadulterated gain. Conclusion. From the tyrant to the tycoon, the specifics change, but the path remains the same. The justification, the echo chamber, the final, cold act. It's a warning, not a judgment. A roadmap of emotional decay. The milk of human kindness is a fragile thing. It is not spoiled by a single act, but by 1,000 small ones. The true danger is not a great evil from without, but a quiet curdling from within. The takeaway lesson isn't to judge these figures from a safe distance, but to look for the first step on the path in ourselves, to be vigilant against the small acts of intemperance, and to protect the compassion that keeps us human. The milk of human kindness curdles with intemperance. And of course, like, subscribe, and share. Explore aphorisms at mabloom77.blogspot.com or get a daily feed of them at facebook.com/philomeme-aphorism and visit my blog at tiniel.com/philomeme. Philomeme, a lover of ideas.